Thank you for listening in to the training video on Senate Bill SB 70 and Assembly Bill AB 123. For this training video, we will first have an overview of the SB 70 changes made in the 2025-2026 Higher Education Budget Trailer Bill. Then we will point out some of the key changes in the file submission process and file layout specifications. Finally, we will wrap up with a timeline review. The Cal Grant reporting requirement in SB 70 was modified by EB 123 on June 27, 2025, as part of the 2025-2026 California state budget. The changes established deadlines for higher ed institutions and CSAC, added disaggregation by program receipt and student demographics, and added an option for public segments to use Cradle to Career for their data submission. No changes were made to the job placement rate and salary and wage reporting process, so please continue to report this data as you have in prior years to the CSAC IPA team. We have changed the data specifications based on what we wanted the new enrollment, persistence, and graduation dashboard to look like. Now we are asking for the longitudinal data for a single cohort defined by counting backwards from the prior academic year to the cohort for whom 150% graduation rate data is available, meaning 6 years back for a 4 year institution and 3 years back for 2 year institution. In short, you will now be submitting more comprehensive data for a smaller group of students. You can find updated documentation online, including the file overview and layout, as well as a frequently asked question document on our CSAC website. The portal for uploading the enrollment, persistence, and graduation data has stayed the same. The user who is reporting should first log into WebGrants. Once you've successfully logged into WebGrants, you should be able to select the SB 70 menu option under Other. You can re-upload your file if any changes are needed prior to the portal closing. Once closed, the files will be sent to the CSAC data team for processing. The enrollment cohort includes all new, first-time and transfer full-time students, excluding non-credit who enrolled between July 1st and June 30th of the cohort academic year. Reporting should be limited to those students who are full-time, meaning those who have on average attempted at least 24 semesters or 36 quarter units for all years attended. For this reporting cycle due on March 31st, 2026, in the 2025-2026 academic year, you will report outcomes as of the end of 2024-2025, including the trailing summer, that is through August 31st, 2025. For 4 year institutions, they'll report on the cohort that started 6 years ago, so back in 2019 and 2020. And the 2 year institutions will report on the cohort from 3 years ago, from 2022 and 2023. The enrollment, persistence, and graduation files have been combined into a single aggregate file. Institutions can also opt to submit a unitary file to be aggregated by CSAC staff. Regardless of the type, the file submitted is a text or a CSV file with defined character positions. The aggregate file has multiple rows due to each combination of the grant program, metric, and years received fields. In each row, you will report a count of students who match each combination. The following slides focus on these three critical fields. The grant program field indicates which program, such as Cal Grant or Middle Class Scholarship, the metric is being reported on. Students who receive multiple grants at your institution will be counted in each category. All students in the cohort will be included in each grant program category, but will have different years received values if they did or did not receive the aid. For example, those students who did not receive any of the listed forms of aid should be reported in the row with a 0 in this field and a 0 in the years received fields. Those students who received both a Cal Grant A and students with Dependents Children Award will be reported in the rows with a 0, 1, and a 4 in this field. So why is it like this? We want to be able to distinguish between students who receive state aid and did not with the value 0, as well as between different types of state aids, which is values 1 to 6. The metric identifies which count is being reported on that line of the file, including enrollment, which is the starting cohort count, persistence from year 1 to year 2, and how many students graduated within 100% or 150% of the time. Those who graduated in 100% of the time should be included in the 150% count. The count in your enrollment rows will be the denominator used to calculate the persistence and graduation percentages with your persistence and graduation rows. Please note that persistence is only from year 1 to year 2 in the aggregate file. For the enrollment, graduation, and transfer out metrics, this field should reflect the count of years received, or a 0 for non-receipt. You should count each separate academic year, even if the student received aid for only one term in each year. A student who received multiple years of a given grant program should be reported only for that year count. That is, a student who received 3 years of Cal Grant A should be in the 3 row, not 1 or 2. Back to our earlier example, those students who received both a Cal Grant A and a Student with Dependent Children award were reported in the rows with a 0, 1, and a 4 for grant program. If the student received 2 years of Cal Grant A and only 1 year of the Student with Dependent Children award, their values for the years received in the graduation metric would be 2 for the 0 and 1 grant program rows, but a 1 for the 4 grant program rows. For persistence, this field is binary, reflecting either did or did not receive aid. For those students who received 2 years of Cal Grant A and 1 year of the Student with Dependent Children Award, their values for persistence would be 1 for all 3 grant program categories. This slide shows a few examples of how the 3 fields create multiple rows in the file. The aggregate file will have 1 row per grant program, per metric, per year's received value. For each row, you will submit the count of total students who match those categories, and then of that total, the count of students in each demographic. Other fields of the aggregate file include static identifiers of the cohort and reporting years, as well as the total and subgroup counts. The demographic counts are divisions of the total. For example, the count of male, female, and non-binary are all also counted in the total. The same student will be reported in multiple demographic counts. For example, a male, Asian, first generation. The received Cal Grant and middle class scholarship field includes those who receive both types of awards and will only have counts from public segment institutions. Private segments should leave the field as all zeros. The unitary file maintains many of the old elements while adding those that align with the aggregate reporting requirement, including identifying your enrollment cohort year, providing student demographics when available, identifying which grants they received payment for while enrolled at your institution, and identifying whether the student persisted up to 4 years. These are examples of what your aggregate or unitary file should look like in text format. Note that the demographic counts in the aggregate file are represented as sets of 6 zeros, with final set counting the row or the record number. Here is the timeline for the 2024-2025 data submission. On January 5th, 2026, the portal opened. March 31st, 2026 is going to be the deadline for data submission. Schools must submit a unitary or aggregate file in WebGrants. Public segments should also defer to their system office about using Cradle to Career. On August 1st, 2026 is the deadline for CSAC to publish this dashboard. The dashboard will have the visualizations of persistence and graduation rates by segment and institution, as well as disaggregated by demographics. Now, ongoing, please contact CSAC with any questions or suggestions. Please let us know if you encounter any sort of issues or if we can further clarify the data specifications for your submission files. You can always email research@csac.ca.gov or you can contact our school support at 1-888-294-0153. Thank you for listening to the SB 70 AB 123 Cal Grant Reporting Training video.